This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability. From LAist and APM, American Public Media, it's This Old House Radio Hour. I'm your host, Jen Largis. On today's show, want to turn up the volume inside but keep the noise out? Martin Poirier, aka the Soundproof Guide, shares smart strategies for soundproofing your home.
A lot of the advice online, a lot of the times it'll just say use acoustic foam to soundproof the room, but that doesn't really work to soundproof a room.
Paula Poundstone on the magical creaky house and the family inside that changed her life.
The house and the family that inhabited it. They are the kindest people. I think the feelings that I'm describing about how they made me feel, that was not isolated to just me.
Cheap Old Houses is back with a rare mid-century gem, a steel-clad Lustron home that's as durable as it is dreamy. All of this, plus we're answering your home improvement and DIY questions at 877-864-7460. Coming up right after the news. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Noise has a way of creeping into our lives and our homes. Martin Poirier, better known as the Soundproof Guide, joins us to share tips for you to block out sound and create quieter spaces in your home. Martin, welcome to This Old House Radio Hour.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So let's give us a little bit of a 101 here. How does soundproofing actually work?
Let's say you're in a room, it's to stop sound from either going in the room or inside the room or outside the room. So it's basically to stop sound. And a lot of people do get it confused with sound deadening, which is different, that absorbs sound. A lot of the advice online, even if you ask ChatGPT, a lot of the times it'll just say, use acoustic foam to soundproof the room, but that doesn't really work to soundproof a room because it doesn't block noise, it doesn't stop it, it just absorbs it to make the room sound better. Soundproofing, just mass over mass will stop those sound waves, but you need a lot of mass. That's why you would add drywall, an extra layer drywall, or mass-loaded vinyl, which is a type of rubber type material that's very heavy and it blocks noise. And that's what will stop that transfer of energy.
Are there types of structures that transfer sound more than others, like certain materials?
Let's say there's an air gap inside the wall that might make it reverberate a little bit inside, so you would add some insulation. Any types of air gaps, any types of cracks. They say that just a crack will let noise through about 50%. Just think if you're at an airport hotel and you just open the sliding glass door, just a crack, you hear all that noise coming in. If you can block those gaps and you can fill in those cracks inside the room, there's plenty of them on a wall, even an electrical outlet. It's a hole in the wall, and sealing the most that you can will help stop that transfer of noise from one room to the other.
So what can people do to make sure their homes are absorbing unwanted noises?
You don't really have to go and buy professional acoustic panels or acoustic foam. That's more for professionals if you have a recording studio or a home theater. For just regular people that has a room that has a little bit too much of an echo, just thick curtains. You can buy something called sound deadening curtains, and that's what they do. They deaden the sound. And also blackout curtains. Those are very thick. And also plush material in the room, a area rug or big plush couches, even canvases on the wall can make the room sound a lot better.
Yeah, you think of, say you ever moved into an empty space, you think about how the sound echoes. And then as soon as you put the furniture in, rugs, furniture, curtains, things like that, all of a sudden it's not a problem anymore.
Exactly. And especially a washroom. A washroom, it echoes a lot because of all those flat, hard surfaces that just makes the sound waves bounce around the room. And that's what causes the echo. And even in a washroom, it's a little bit more difficult. But what you can do, you can just add a washable rug and sound deadening curtains to the window, a shower curtain that is thicker and just a softer material. Just little things like that it's surprising how much of the echo will be drowned out in some place like a washroom.
For our listeners that share walls with their neighbors, do you have any advice on how to block out unwanted noise and keep their space a little more peaceful?
There's two ways, because a lot of people that shares with their neighbors are renting. And when you're renting, there's not much that you can do to block sound, because you can't really add anything permanent onto the wall. You can't add an extra layer of drywall, but there are things that you can do. You can still have a bookshelf onto the adjoining wall and just fill it up with books or things that, will kind of fill it up and block that noise. But one thing is to make sure to fill the entire wall. If you just have half of the wall, it's not really going to have much effect. It's important to fill the entire wall. And also removable closets.
Get an armoire.
Yeah, those types of things with wheels, and you can just place them against the wall. You can fill those up with clothing, and that also will block some noise.
What if you have carte blanche to do whatever you want in the space?
If you can do whatever you want, then it's best to open up the wall if you can afford it. See what's behind the drywall. You can add insulation. Really what will do the most will help is adding extra layers of drywall. So adding thicker drywall, 5/8 of an inch drywall. You don't have to go with specific soundproof drywall. Adding that over it can make a difference. And also, if you open up the wall and you see those outlet boxes, you notice that there's holes where the wires would go in. Adding something like a putty pad, it's almost like a flat piece of putty. And then you just wrap it around the electrical box. Those little things, if you add them all up together, it will make a bigger difference.
We did have a caller once who asked how they could soundproof their ceiling from the people upstairs being a little more noisy. Do you have any advice for something like that?
Ceilings, that's one of the most difficult to soundproof because of the vibrations. If you want to block footstep noise, then if you're renting, there's not much that you can do other than go upstairs and ask them to
Please take your shoes off before you come inside.
Or just to lay carpet or anything that will absorb the vibration. But if you're not renting and you can tear the ceiling, there is something that you can add directly onto the studs, which is called a resilient channel and sound clips. And what that does is you attach that directly onto the studs, and then you attach the drywall directly onto the metal channels. So basically, it's almost like a floating ceiling. The drywall doesn't touch the studs, so those vibrational noise coming from upstairs is dissipated throughout the resilient channel.
Wow.
So that's basically the only way that you can stop the vibrations, that vibrational noise, is to separate the ceiling from the floor above.
We like to end each episode with a simple fix, where an expert shares a practical tip with our listeners to make their life a little bit easier. Do you have a simple fix for soundproofing your home?
A lot of the time, it's the door that's the problem, that hole in the wall that's already there. You can soundproof the wall by just soundproofing the door, which is just adding a door sweep at the bottom because of that half-inch gap that lets noise in and out quite easily, and a weather strip around the door to seal it up for about $20.
Well, Martin, we thank you so much for being here. This was great information.
Well, thanks for having me.
That was Martin Poirier. Check out the Soundproof Guide on YouTube for product demos, room makeovers, and more smart noise solutions. Right now, we're tackling your DIY and home improvement questions. Call us now at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460, and we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Linda Slagle. I'm calling from Des Moines, Iowa.
Hi, Linda. What's your question today?
Well, I have a question about mitigation for radon. I tested the basement for a little radon test, and it's a little higher than what they say it should be.
Okay, well, luckily we have Ross Trethewey, the building engineer for This Old House, and Zach Detmore, a building contractor for the show, on the line.
Hi there.
Hey, Linda, you're in good hands. Ross is good at solving this problem, and I'm really good at breathing in radon because I live in New Jersey.
Oh, good. Well, Iowa is known for its radon also. So.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always like to start with the basics, right? So radon is a gas, right? And it's formed below our feet, right, in the earth. It's the radioactive decay process. So we have like uranium and other things below our feet, right? And so that decays, and then through that radioactive decay creates radon gas. And the radon gas rises up through the soils, the geology below our houses, and basically can enter into the basement, typically through cracks in the foundation and cracks in the concrete slabs, and it gets into the basement, and then therefore it's more dense, so it's heavier, so it will sink to the bottom of the basically in that basement, it will stay in that basement. And radon is the number one cause for lung cancer for non-smokers. Yeah. So it's something that is serious.
Once again, Ross, you just took the words right out of my mouth the exact way I was going to say it.
You did not have those words. Ross, how common is radon?
It's pretty common. So it really depends on the geology of the soils below our houses and the density of the population. And so there is an EPA map that shows the 3 different zones, Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. But just because you're in a low zone area doesn't mean you don't have radon, right? So what we always talk about is continuous monitoring. So we recommend, ideally, every home in America would have a radon monitor continuously running in the basement. That just gives us peace of mind because it is dynamic, right? It's not static in levels. And so when you build a house or buy a house, you usually do a radon test. Usually the home inspector recommends it. And that's only going to give you a 3-day snapshot, or maybe a 2-day snapshot of that radon level. It's not going to give you a year.
So there's a monitor that you can purchase and just keep in your basement?
Yeah, there's manufacturers that make radon monitors. They are Wi-Fi connected typically, so you can see it on your phone. And it just runs behind the scenes in your basement and just gives you that kind of peace of mind that you have a low level of radon. We find that it actually changes a lot from season to season and from year to year. So the radon EPA limit is 4. So the EPA has this is 4, what they call picocuries per liter. That's the unit that is measured in. So if you're below 4, the EPA says you're considered, kind of quote unquote safe. If you're above 4, they recommend acting on that.
Well, mine was 5.6.
Yeah. So Linda, so you're at 5.6, you're above the EPA limit of 4, right? So what that typically means to me is that you have to put in a radon mitigation system. That's typically how it's handled. And so there are 2 different styles of that. There is a passive system and there is an active system. But inherently what it means is that there's a pipe, a PVC pipe typically. It's a white plastic pipe, right? It's 3 inches or 4 inches in diameter, and it's stubbed below your slab in your basement. And then it's run either up through the building or it punches outside and runs up the side of the house. And what you're effectively doing is you're allowing the radon gas a place to escape. And that's a passive system. Then as soon as I add a fan to it, now it's an active system. So it basically is creating suction below the slab, pulling that radon gas, and basically bringing it out through the roof and getting it outside. And by doing that, we've been very successful in getting the radon levels low.
And I have a sump pump. Does that make it a greater chance of having radon because of that?
Linda, that is a great question. And people forget about this. You have under drains, like a French drain, that's connected to that sump basin. If that sump basin is not sealed and doesn't have a lid on it, then you have an escape path for radon, a very easy path for the radon to travel. It's going to take the pathway of resistance, so it can come right through that gravel layer, right through your sump pump basin and into your basement. So you got to put a lid on that and seal that up, as well as seal up all the cracks, as many cracks as you can in the basement slab. You want to seal that up as best you can.
Okay. Thank you you gave me some good things to mull around.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. Thanks for the call.
Take care, Linda.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
After the break, we answer more of your home improvement and DIY questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460. Coming up on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. Stay tuned. This Old House Radio Hour is supported by the Home Depot. Whether you're tackling a kitchen upgrade, organizing your garage, or building out that back deck, it's important to keep your projects on track. Fast, free delivery from the Home Depot makes it easy to keep things moving in the right direction. If you're just starting out or you're stuck in the middle, the Home Depot has same-day and next-day delivery, so you can get what you need fast. Maybe you need a tool, more materials, some extra paint and supplies, or a battery to power your way through that project. Whatever you're working on, get fast, free delivery from the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Order select in-stock items by 4 p.m., subject to availability. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Before we get back to your calls, we're opening up the phone lines and playing House Rules. This is a game where we test your knowledge of common DIY and home improvement procedures. No lifelines, no second chances. Just you, your instincts, and a shot at glory. Hello, you're on House Rules.
This is Kelly Marr. I'm calling from Wilmington, North Carolina.
Hi, Kelly. So tell us, how handy are you around the house?
I can be handy, but not when it comes to measuring.
That's not important at all.
Yeah, I'd probably rate myself middle of the road.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see how this goes. This is how it's going to work. I'm going to ask you 2 multiple choice questions. They are home improvement questions.
Okay.
If you miss the first one, the game is over.
Okay.
If you get it right, you get to move on to question 2.
Okay.
If you answer both correctly, you will win the ultimate prize, a custom voicemail recording from This Old House's very own Richard Trethewey. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. So, Kelly, let's play House Rules. Here is your first question.
Okay.
Which hammer is most common? Is it A, a framing, B, claw, or C, ball pin?
I'm going to go with B, claw.
Kelly, you chose B, a claw hammer.
Yes.
To get the right answer, we asked Zach Detmore, a general contractor for the show, and this was his answer.
The correct answer is the claw hammer. The top of the hammer is actually a little bit curved, whereas a framing hammer has sort of a straight claw coming off the top. It's definitely better at pulling nails, but my hunch is if you want a more utilitarian multiple use hammer, most of you who use hammers frequently are going for the framing hammer.
Yes.
Kelly, what made you guess claw hammer?
What made me guess claw hammer? I've used a framing hammer before, and between the other two, it sounded like the most likely answer.
All right. Well, nice guess. That means you're moving on to question 2.
Okay.
Question 2 is, how fast does quick cement set? Is it A, 10 to 20 minutes, B, 20 to 40 minutes, or C, 40 to 45 minutes?
For quick cement, I'm going to go with 20 to 40. That sounds right.
Okay, you chose B, 20 to 40 minutes. Yeah. To get the right answer, we asked Mark McCullough, a mason for the show.
The correct answer is between 20 and 40 minutes.
Yes.
And that all depends on the temperature.
Okay.
What made you guess 20 to 40 minutes?
We just put a mailbox in the front of the house.
Perfect timing. Well, that means that you got both questions right. Congratulations, Kelly. You are this week's House Rules champion. Richard Trethewey is standing by, ready to record your brand new custom voicemail. You just let him know what you wanted to say, and it's all yours.
Yeah, thanks.
Want to be on House Rules? It's easy. Call our hotline at 877-864-7460 and leave us a message saying, I want to be on House Rules, along with your name, where you're from, your phone number, and a good time to call you back. Or send us an email at questions@thisoldhouse.com with that same info. We'd love to have you on the show. Right now, we're tackling your DIY and home improvement questions. Call us at 877-864-7460. That's 877-864-7460, and we'll match you with the right expert. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, this is Pamela Rockstrol.
And Pam, where are you calling from?
From Jefferson, Wisconsin.
Well, thanks for calling. What's your question today?
So we have got a leak problem, which we've had for some time, and we've had 3 different local roofers take a look at the areas that we've had problems with. And back in 2021, we had a new roof. We had our roof replaced. Whenever it seemed like when we would get a driving rain, that's when we would have that problem.
Well, it sounds very frustrating to have your roof replaced and then still be having this issue. Luckily, to answer your question, we have Charlie Silva, a builder for the show, and Zach Detmore, a general contractor, both on the line.
How are you?
Hi, Charlie. Good. We watch you all the time.
Well, thank you very much. We all appreciate it.
Hey, Pam, Zach here.
Great description, Pam. Zach's probably thinking the same thing I am. Did you have the roof replaced because of that same leak?
Yes, and then we figured it was probably time, to have the roof replaced.
What age are the windows, for example? Are they old wood windows? What are they?
This house was, it was built in 2000. So, yeah, the windows are, they're 20 plus years old. So,
well, my first gut is 20 years is not that old because that's only like a third of me. So that's not that old. And most likely it's not the window. It sounds to me, if it is window related, it might have been from a bad install or a bad flashing detail, maybe the front of the window. I don't know how far the window sits to the edge of the roof. Is the window sill on the outside kind of close to the roof, near the roof shingles themselves? If you were to look out your window, is it down a couple inches? Could you touch the roof shingles?
Probably, yeah. Well, I'm thinking maybe little more than a couple inches, but yeah, not too far off.
So if you were to look at the leak, does that line up? If it was to drip from the face of the window down into the knee wall, is it coming out the ceiling below right there on the face of the dormers?
Yep.
So my first gut feeling, and Zach, you chime in, but would be a bad flashing job from before on the roof or maybe on the second one. And if multiple dormers are leaking like that, it even maybe signals more that it was just a bad flashing job also. What do you think, Zach?
I think that's a good call, but the only thing I would add that's not really related to the construction is did anyone try like tracking down the leak when it was raining or when it was actually happening, or all the professionals who came out to the job were sort of on a dry day doing this off the information you gave them?
Right, correct. They were not here when it was actually happening.
Got it.
So yeah.
It may not be possible to do this, but I work with like a restoration contractor who you would hire if your toilet started leaking and broke all the drywall in your house, that type of contractor. And he comes in when there's these water events with a thermal imaging camera, and wherever the water is behind the drywall, which you have in your house, he can sort of see where the water's traveling. So one thing that maybe would be possible to do is try and recreate the leak with a garden hose by soaking down areas, because you could sort of work from the bottom up and try and recreate that leak. And that way, if what Charlie's saying is correct about the window, you could start there, but maybe that doesn't cause it. Then you could check what he's saying about the step flashing, which is sort of where the side of the dormer meets the roof, but sort of trying to recreate it and being able to check it by either having the wall open on the inside or using a thermal imaging camera might be a good way to pinpoint it, so you're not fixing areas that are actually perfectly fine.
Yeah, so Pam, it sounds like maybe finding that person to help you recreate that problem and help you get to the root cause.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. We appreciate your call.
Best of luck, Pam.
Take care, Pam.
Right now, we're answering your questions at 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Who's calling?
This is Margaret Coughlin, and I'm calling from Aroostook, Maine.
And Margaret, what's your question today?
So we bought our house here on the beautiful coast of Maine just a couple of years ago, and one of the things the house came with was an indoor pool. The area around the pool currently has got indoor-outdoor carpeting on it on top of a kind of a rough concrete base. And the carpeting is getting pretty funky, and we wanted to see whether or not we should replace it with carpeting or should we do something else.
Well, luckily we have Zach Detmore, contractor for This Old House, here on the line to help.
Great. Help.
All right, Margaret, I'm excited for this question because I feel like carpeting around a pool is bad news bears. Wet and carpet are not good bedfellows.
Yeah, it probably spells mold or something like that, right?
It seems like it would. If it were my house, I think I would probably prefer something that I could sort of mop down.
Yeah.
Zach, I think we're just out of our millennial age range here, because I think in the 60s and 70s there was carpet in bathrooms. I mean, this is not.
That's true.
We're not in the right time frame here.
I was just at the tail end where the carpets on the toilet seat still exist.
Yeah.
You know those? They have the set.
No.
It's a nice anti-slip surface. You can choose your color.
Guys, that sounds disgusting. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I guess less practical, we'll say.
Don't shame us because we only have toilet seat money, not indoor pool money.
What would you recommend for the surface?
Sure. What is the coping around the pool?
The coping, what is that?
Meaning the material that transitions the edge of the pool, sort of that 90-degree transition from floor to pool, I would call coping.
It's a waterproof rubberized material.
Is the inside of the pool tiled or is it a liner?
It's a liner.
Okay.
And the carpet finishes under that rubber coping edge?
It really abuts the edge. It really comes up to the edge and stops.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest, Margaret. I don't know what I'm talking about because I live in New Jersey where indoor pool land is like not exactly a thing that we have. There are certain people that have them. I think you treat this
the same way you treat a bathroom space. You could almost even go, if they cleaned it well enough, with an epoxy type flooring, like you would almost put in a garage.
Ooh, I like that one. As long as
they
you're not building up too high.
Right, as long as they put the non-skid additive in it, because as soon as it gets wet, you don't want it to become slippery. So you're going to want a lot of non-skid additive.
They have those floors called quartz floors where it's like the epoxy, but it's like ground up stone, and that could be nice. I love that idea.
So when you say epoxy, what are you talking about? What kind of a material? I'm not familiar with that.
Take it away, Zach.
Take it away. Yeah. So basically, the epoxy is referring to the top coat, which epoxy is just a term for a coating that has an A and a B that get mixed together. And typically that means it gets much harder than a one-part finish.
It goes on like paint, though, or you pour it on and spread it. You can think of it most akin to being painted on, just a much more durable surface. That's why a lot of people choose it for their garage or basement.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got it. Oh, so it's sort of a viscous liquid that goes on.
Yep.
Exactly.
And then hardens. Okay.
And I think, too, as long as you get the non-slip additive, is almost like a sand that they put into it so that it kind of almost has a little bit of a grit to it so that when it gets wet, you're not slipping and sliding in any way. It's going to give you a little bit more of a sturdy footing around a wet surface like a pool.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so what you're talking about is it called like a quartz epoxy or no, that's not what it's called.
Yeah, quartz epoxy.
Okay, great.
Is what it's called, I believe, or epoxy quartz flooring.
In a lot of cases, you're going to want to have an expert install this. I know there's a lot of DIY options out there, but since you are dealing with pulling up the indoor-outdoor carpet, you're going to need some heavy-duty cleaning to make sure this will adhere properly, possibly etching. And then as it goes down, you're going to want to make sure that you're not, accidentally getting it near or in the pool type area. So having an expert do this for you might be your most long-lasting, durable application.
Yeah, it sounds like it. This doesn't sound like something we would even begin to attempt. So this is great. This is great. Oh, wonderful idea, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you for saving me from the moldy carpet.
Absolutely. We'll stop by for a swim after.
Wonderful. Love to have you. We love company. It's wonderful.
All right. Thanks for the call, Margaret. Call us now at 877-864-7460. 877-864-7460. Hello, you're on This Old House Radio Hour.
Hi, Jen. This is Joe Tunis calling from Rochester, New York.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
Good.
And what's your question today?
Recently, I had a chimney company come out to inspect the top of my chimney. We've been in the house about 19 years. It's a modern colonial, like 2-story. The chimney's on the front. And there was like cracks at the very top, like vertical cracks that you can see from the ground. But I don't like ladders, so I haven't gone up there to check it. And it's been like that for years, and I kind of ignored it. But we noticed that one of the bricks seemed to look like it was loose or dislodged. So we had a company come out, and they did a full inspection, and it's worse than we thought. There's bricks missing on the backside. They gave me a very large report. It was very thorough, but the price freaked me out. So I'm trying to figure out if I have to go the full bore of what they recommended, or if there's like smaller fixes that I could do.
Absolutely. Great question. To help us out today, we have the show's Mason, Mark McCullough, on the line, and I also have general contractor Zach Detmore.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Joe. This is Mark.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Doing great, Joe.
Hey, Joe. Zach here.
Hey, Zach.
So to break down the number a little bit, I always tell people that it's not the work that you think you're looking at, which is at the top of the chimney.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, is the most important to keep intact, because the water, the snow, everything will sit on top of that concrete cap and start, if there are cracks, it'll leach into the chamber of the chimney. And that's where the freeze-thaw action really starts. And that's what's breaking up that brick. The positive is it's a slow death, if you will. So you might not see damage for a couple years, but all of a sudden you might see a lot of damage. But to get back to breaking down the bill just a little bit, don't forget that you have to have safe workers on your site, and that's going to entail staging. So they have to get to the work. And to give you that OSHA-approved scaffolding setup takes time. So that's where people don't realize that they actually spend most of the money. So if you were to dissect that bill a little bit, or maybe even call the company back, I would ask them, you know, if you were going to question the price, just ask them where the money's being spent. And if they tell you that you're spending a lot of money to get to the work, that's a good sign, and you probably have the right company to do it.
I will just add, Joe, that I've had several of these sort of, we're on a job doing something and I notice there's something up with the chimney. I bring my mason in, and we've had this type of situation. And every time the homeowner is blindsided by the cost. And we use a separate company to provide the scaffolding. And it's not uncommon that they'll be close to $5,000 just for assembling that and maybe building a staircase up to it. But it's one of those things that's so hard to separate with the money for, because you feel like once it's done, you're left with something similar to what you had in the first place, even though it's extremely important for the maintenance of your home to take care of it now. It's definitely a tough pill to swallow for everyone.
Well, Joe, we appreciate your time, and hopefully that answers your question, and we wish you luck.
Yeah, it does. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe.
After the break, it's all mid-century magic. We tour a Lustron home in Waterloo, Iowa that lets you live like the Jetsons on a Flintstones budget. That's coming up on This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. Welcome back to This Old House Radio Hour from LAist and APM. I'm your host, Jen Largis. Coming up, we go to Waterloo, Iowa for a rare Lustron home. Then up to Caribou, Maine, where a storybook farmhouse is ready for revival. But first we go to Manchester, Massachusetts, where comedian Paula Poundstone takes us back to the creaky old duplex and the big-hearted family that gave her a home when she needed one most.
My name is Paula Poundstone. I'm a stand-up comic, and this is my old house. I was raised in a small town in Massachusetts, and when I was 17, I was a bit of a screw-up, so I went to a residential program for screwed-up kids. The way they rewarded kids for doing what they told them to do, you could go home for the weekend. But I had no desire to go home for the weekend. So they really didn't have a big thing over my head. And so this staff member, whose name was Martha, started taking me to her house for the weekend. And therefore, I met some of Martha's friends, one being Chris Masiero and the other being Chris Masiero's very large family. They had 7 kids. Rini and Guy were the parents. Now, a little bit of time goes by. It's time where I can leave the school for screwed up kids, but I don't have anywhere to go. I was invited to the Masieros for Thanksgiving dinner. I was still 17 years old. But at that Thanksgiving dinner, as I was complaining and whining and telling how awful my life is, Elizabeth, who was my age, blurted out over dinner. She says, "Mom, why couldn't Paula live with us?" I think Rini pretended she was choking on a turkey bone. There was a little pause before she said, "Well, I guess she could." 2 weeks later, my tacky blue suitcase was being dragged up the Masiero stone steps. It's in Manchester, Massachusetts, which is a very small town. The house is right on the sidewalk, and there's these very steep stone steps. It was a rich, dark brown color. Inside the house, the key holder, right, with the hooks on it, it was very long because every time anybody wanted to go somewhere, like somebody else had to move their car, there was, so you always just put your keys up there. Rini used to put a piece of paper just inside the door on a table at night where she would write down the name of everyone who was sleeping there that night. And when you came in, you crossed your name off so that the last person in knew to shut the door and lock it. So when I first moved in, I'm not sure that I had ever been upstairs, and it's a 2-story house. So if somebody went upstairs, it was like, to me, it was like this sort of mysterious place that they were going. I didn't have any idea what the upstairs looked like. But so many people came downstairs from the upstairs. That's the way in which it was like a clown car. I'm telling you. And by the way, I was the first outsider that they ever invited to live with them. But after me, I know any number of other people who were out of luck at one time or another, and the Masieros invited them to live with them. There's a long list of people who have resided there, temporarily. So when I did go upstairs, when Rini first took me up, I guess when I first moved in, there's a very short hallway, very homey and lovely, but the bedrooms were really small, enough room for, a couple of beds and a dresser. I think I still had, what did I have with me? Milk crates that I kept some of my stuff in. It just never made any sense to me that many people lived in that house. Nobody had a room to themselves. It looks like a big house from the outside, but it's really not a big house at all. I don't know what this is called in house terms, but where there's a wall that's slanted by the roof, and the beds were often pushed up against that wall. And there was a couple of rooms that had that kind of wall. And so when you lift your head up at night, if you forgot, you banged your head. And a lot of times when I first lived there, I could hear mice running around in that wall just over my head. I have no idea how that many people lived in that house. There was a porch, which eventually got closed in, which eventually got turned into a real room, like a family room. So it's a long deck that stretches across, both sides of the house. It's one of the ways you used to go back and forth from the two houses, was you go out of the porch, you walk down and you go through the other door. You got a barbecue out there. And in the summer, tons of life takes place on that porch. All night long, you hear voices and laughing coming off that porch. It's a summertime hotspot. My life prior, because I was the youngest in my family, I was raised in a family of 4 kids. By the time I was a sophomore in high school, the other kids were in college or just gone. It was just me and my parents. And my mother was just an incredibly depressed woman who spent most of her life in bed. It was a really lonely life at our house for me. So getting to the Masieros, here I was with people who found me funny. I mean, we laugh from the moment I arrived there, and I'm sure they don't wait for me to laugh. They're just people who laugh easily. I think I felt like a more valuable human being when I was in their house. I think in my house, more than anything, I just felt sort of like there, but sort of taken for granted. So even back when I was 17 and I lived with the Macieros, the capacity of the house seemed to adjust to how many of us there were at a given meal or on a given night, like the room of requirement in Harry Potter. Whatever Harry Potter and his friends needed, the room became. And now I've been returning there for many, many, many years, and at least once a year and sometimes more. My kids and I used to vacation there every summer. So I have 3 kids, so there was 4 of us, and somewhere in one half of that duplex, they found room for us. The house and the family that inhabited it. You can't walk down the street with any Macieros. They know everyone. They are the kindest, nicest people. I think the feelings that I'm describing about how they made me feel, that was not isolated to just me. It sounds like a cult, but it's not, I swear it. That home is absolutely living proof of one idea. Rini and Guy were not rich. Guy coached the high school golf team, and he taught PE in elementary school. And Rini Maciero cleaned houses for a living. They had 7 kids. They took me in, and eventually they took in other people. But somehow, by virtue of having that clown car of a house that just had so many people coming and going, it was like It's a Wonderful Life. They were the richest house on the block.
That was Paula Poundstone. Catch her on tour through the fall. Dates and tickets at paulapoundstone.com. Right now, we're joined by Ethan and Elizabeth Finkelstein, publishers of Cheap Old Houses, the popular social media account that draws millions of fans eager to discover homes across America listed for as little as $10. Today, we'll explore whether these hidden gems become a labor of love or a money pit. Ethan and Elizabeth, thanks for joining us on This Old House Radio Hour.
Great to be here, Jen.
Hey, Jen. We're excited to talk about some of these fun properties.
Absolutely. And we also have joining us to understand the scope of a possible renovation, This Old House general contractor, Zach Detmore.
Hey, Jen. I'm excited for this one. These are some cool houses.
All right, so let's jump in. Our first listing today is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom Lustron home located in Northwest Iowa. It was built with enameled metal, with a large open living room that flows into a formal dining area and an open kitchen featuring quartz countertops and a forced air furnace for heat and ceiling fans for cooling. This 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,021 square foot home is located at 220 Forest Avenue in Waterloo, Iowa, and can be yours for $144,900. Ethan and Elizabeth, can you tell our listeners more about what a Lustron home is?
Lustron homes are some of the coolest homes that currently stand, and there are fewer than 2,000 of them still around. So during World War II, we produced a ton of steel for obvious reasons. And then after the war was over, we had to think of ways to market it to homeowners. So we did that by preying on housewives with steel kitchens. And Carl Strandlund created the Lustron Corporation, originally thinking about making prefab gas stations. But he couldn't secure funding because there was such a housing shortage after the war, so he decided to make steel prefab houses. He created the Lustron Corporation, and between 1948 and 1950, less than 3,000 of these were built, and approximately 1,500 of them still stand. And they're all quite similar. They are all made of enameled steel, so it's kind of cool.
I mean, this doesn't really look like a metal house from the outside. I'm just looking here. But once you look at the inside, interesting.
Right. These houses don't really scream out that they're unique structures, but there's really only 1,500 of these left. If you're fans of like the Fallout 4 series of video games, you will see this house as a set for a lot of the activities in there. I don't play that game myself, but it's a very, interesting look and feel.
There were a few different models of Lustrons that you could pick from. I think there were 3 altogether. And a lot of them have very similar elements inside. You'll see that there's a built-in vanity in here. That's very typical of the Lustron houses. They all have very similar kitchens. The bathrooms have these square panels whereas the living rooms have these vertical panels, and they all are quite similar. And I think that's what makes them really fun. They are the ultimate in mid-century kitsch.
Zach, have you ever seen a house like this before?
I've never seen one of these, and I've never even heard of one of these houses until coming upon this listing. And I went sort of down a rabbit hole looking at pictures of them. And I mean, the cool thing is if you buy this house, you really pretty much know nothing's rotten. There's no termite damage, right? You kind of, in terms of durability, I think they really check that box. I don't see it being any sort of money pit if you move into this.
Do you have to worry about rust at all in situations like this?
I mean, this enamel coating was incredible. I don't really think there would be much rusting or any issues you need to worry about.
We have seen instances of people taking their steel cabinetry in their kitchens to a car mechanic to actually re-enamel it, which is a very interesting idea.
Zach, can you go back and add modern comforts to a home like this, though, if you wanted to add like a modern HVAC unit, things like that?
My hunch is you can kind of pop things out and retrofit might make it even easier than a normal house.
I see some signs of ductwork in the house and in some of the paneling in some of the rooms. And then there is a heating unit. It looks like natural gas or propane. But I almost wonder about the summer. Would it bake in this summer heat? It's, I don't know if there's air conditioning right now.
What do you guys think? If you want to hang a picture, do you just stick a magnet to the wall? Is that the case?
That was one of the selling points back in the day. They would say
really?
You could just hang things with magnets.
Oh, I love it.
I don't know about big pictures, but, posters and big pennants and banners and flags. Sure.
Your Fallout 4 poster, if you will.
Exactly.
Moving on to our second listing this week, we have a mid-century lake house. It is a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, cozy seasonal cottage sitting right on the edge of the water in Caribou Pond, Maine. The interior features a spacious open layout with a wood stove to keep things toasty on chilly evenings. A glassed-in porch offers panoramic views of the pond, which are beautiful. Whether you're casting a line or you're just enjoying this natural beauty, this 1-bed, 1-bath, 625-square-foot cottage is located at 66 Caribou Lane in Lincoln, Maine, and can be yours for $149,900, which is incredible for something on the water, especially in Maine. So, Ethan and Elizabeth, have you seen homes like this that are literally feet from the water?
Yes, we have seen houses that are steps from the water like this. They often tend to be the older lake houses, which more and more are becoming obsolete as people are tearing them down and building much larger, often year-round residences. This is one of the originals. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, it is a one-room lake cottage that has all the charm of an original mid-century house. And that includes the wood paneling inside, some what look to be original kitchen features, original lighting. It really does have everything that makes it a little throwback lake cottage.
It says pond front, but this does not feel like a tiny little pond. This feels quite substantial.
So the pond is actually a little over 10 acres, which classifies it as a great pond. And so in Maine, there's some shoreline zoning restrictions based on these great ponds. So you do want to look into some of the restrictions that may be here, but this is quite a large pond.
Do you know if there's any restrictions if you did want to build an addition or something further from the water on this property?
So I think, number one, that the thing that's infecting this property is that it's on a very, very small lot. So it's 0.2 acres. So that means that you probably couldn't build an additional structure. I hate to say this, and I don't ever say this in front of my wife because she might hit me over the head if you took the house down and you built something new. But, I think it's a very small property. You can't really take the house down and build something bigger. You could if you.
You're on the wrong podcast.
Elizabeth has left the building.
That conversation.
She's out.
Well, you haven't heard my thoughts on this house yet, though.
Oh, no.
I might be more aligned with Ethan.
Oh, no.
Well, it is this beautiful spot. And we see these along the ponds really going by the wayside, and people enjoy the lake access, and the house sometimes gets let go.
Zach, should the next owner be concerned about how close this home is to the lake? What steps would you recommend they take to protect this home from potential damage from the elements?
I'm not really sure. I think it depends on how they control the water level. But I'm assuming it's been there for a while. So my assumption is there's not too much to be concerned with. I think I just get general agita, basically, like there's one cabinet, there's a different type of cabinet, and then there's sort of different types of floors, and the sink is held up with 2 broom handles. It would be very hard for me to recharge in this place, because I think I would show up on a Friday night and I'd be like, there's so much, I have so much agita with all the projects that are here. And I think that's more a me problem than a normal person problem.
Nothing a few beers in a fishing pole can't fix. You don't need to fix anything when you have a few beers in a fishing pole.
I don't think there's enough beers in the world to mute my neurotic tendencies.
Well, Ethan and Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today. You can follow Cheap Old Houses on Instagram or subscribe to their newsletter by going to cheapoldhouses.com. We're nearly at the end of the show, which means it's time for the Simple Fix.
Hi, Jen. It's Ross Rathui, the show's building engineer, and this is my Simple Fix. Is your dishwasher smelly? My Simple Fix is vinegar. Once you've cleaned the basin out at the bottom of the dishwasher and you wipe down all the inner surfaces of the dishwasher, you place 2 cups of vinegar on the top rack and run a sanitation cycle. The vinegar will neutralize the odor and cleans the surfaces, leaving your dishwasher smelling great.
We'll see you next week on This Old House Radio Hour. Our show is distributed by and co-produced by LAist Studios and APM, American Public Media. This Old House Radio Hour was created and produced by Ember 20. Listen to new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday on your app of choice. You can follow This Old House on all the socials at This Old House, all one word. We'll see you next week.